good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earth?
Same genius time.
Any demographic I identify with.
I don't believe you murder.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
Crazy what he did. He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians.
Same
Who does
genius
that?
channel.
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something.
he done about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis. I am joined today by the teacher's coach and the coach's teacher, Craig Lindo. On today's show, we will talk about Tennessee, Trump, Tik Tok, Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham, and Snoop Dogg. And with what breath we have left, we hope to give you something to ponder. What up, Brother Lindo? What is happening? Happy Monday to you.
Come on, see what it do, man.
Hey, man, another day. Blessed to be here. That is for sure, because everybody can't say that.
Yes, sir. I am consistently, to a point that is borderline cliche, thankful for every moment that my toes are on the top of the soil, all 10 of them, and I am breathing without assistance, and I have the cognitive ability to rationalize and use logic. I am okay with that as a starting 3. Pardon me if the bar is low as whatever, but I start there and I figure everything else out after that. Beyond that, I have to periodically remind myself that happiness is a choice.
That it is. How you go about choosing happiness on a consistent basis is a challenge. But if we start with understanding that it is something that we can choose, the closer we are to experiencing it on a more consistent basis. It's not going to be every day, not supposed to be every day. Unfortunately, today, like several other days, there has been another shooting, another mass shooting, another set of innocent people killed, this time in Louisville, Kentucky. I heard there were 2. I haven't been able to find out much about the second shooting, but at minimum this morning, there was one at a bank. Disgruntled employee, as I understand it, live streamed it too. So, hey, there you go. But
Wow.
Rest in peace, condolences to the victims.
I've heard a term in the culture, or maybe it's just only in the subcultures that I lurk in, but the term has been view babies. View babies.
Tell us. What is it?
I'm trying to show you.
What's a view baby? What's a view baby? Am I a view baby?
To what I can understand so far, without sounding like an out of touch old man / middle ager, right? Even though it seems that the term was coined by people approximately in my age group. In any case, the view babies are the people that can't do anything. The generation that can't do anything without views. No matter what it is, there's got to be some kind of post about it on a format, period.
I hear you. I get it. Now,
particularly in video.
What I would say is interesting is, it seems, to say view baby, or to say generational, right? There's people our age that's about that. Everybody got to see where I be, what I do life. So, maybe it's not age.
Works.
Maybe it's not age specific, but there is a generation in this generation of people who fall under the category of view baby. I ain't no view baby.
No, but
as a video
indoctrination
podcast,
works. So it's gonna it's gonna reach other generations, but it's gonna impact one more than the other. I mean,
okay, I hear you. I hear
you
you.
know what I'm
I hear you.
saying? Just because of the nature of growing up without not knowing otherwise.
I understand. I got you now. Yep, that makes sense.
View,
You
baby.
baby. All right. So
They be trying to show you.
a lot is happening in our country. In the intro, I went down a list of things. So, rather than spend, 30 minutes on each topic, just gonna run down the list, throw out a few stats and facts that I have, hear your thoughts, I share my thoughts, and we keep it moving because it's a
How
lot.
you want to do it,
It's
CI?
a lot. All right. So start with Tennessee. What's interesting before I even get into the stats and facts is, we had that song back in the day, Tennessee,
Tennessee,
Tennessee.
Arrested Development.
Was it, it's interesting to when I play that song in my mind, because I didn't get back to it in the last, as these things have unfolded, but it's been on my mind. It made Tennessee seem, feel, and it's a place that maybe you want to be. And I've heard good things. We got a boy out there and doing this thing with the Titans. We got, Nashville has always got some good stuff going on. But it seems that Tennessee isn't as friendly as I once thought. And the reason being, we know about the shooting that occurred there at the private school. 3 children, 3 adults killed. And so there were some state representatives who opted to express themselves in order to encourage a vote for some improved gun laws. Let's stop the violence. Let's stop the killing. Let's enact some laws that keep our constituents safe. And so these people were Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson, all Democrats. And they led a chant. They led chants on the House floor calling for gun control measures. The outcome was House leaders, primarily Republican or Republican-led House, called their behavior an insurrection and recommended all 3 to be expelled from their elected positions. Of the 3, the 2 Justins, Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, were expelled. Gloria Johnson was not. The 2 Justins are Black. Gloria Johnson is white. Call it how you want. I leave that to each individual, but the 2 were suspended. They feel because they're Black. They feel because they're activists. They feel because they were on the younger side. So you got some ageism going on there as well. It contributed to the wanting to expel them, but actually going through the expulsion as well. Hot off the presses, however, because all the shenanigans, what is it? If you let them shenan once, it's likely that they're going to shenan again. And so because they kind of made these expulsions up, right? They just kind of did it. They didn't follow all the rules. They weren't aware of all the rules. So hot off the presses today, the Nashville Metropolitan Council has voted Justin Jones back in. So he was expelled, but he's back now. And on Wednesday, the Shelby County Board of Commissioners will consider action to reappoint Justin Pearson. So all signs point to him being reinstated. Now, because they were expelled, their seats technically are vacant. There will need to be a primary and a general election for their seats. Both men have said that they will seek re-election. So that's a mouthful. what are your thoughts on Tennessee?
Shout out to Arrested Development. If I'm not mistaken, that would be who you were referring to, or one of
Yeah, I think it's
pop
Arrested
culture.
Development.
Yes, and that song was iconic in my opinion.
Yes.
Honestly, you summarized a lot for me there. You even gave me some information that I wasn't up to date on. So I thank you, and I'm sure other people out there thank you for that, brother.
I'm here for you.
I think the most gross part of all this is my lack of surprise.
In what way?
I'm most disappointed. I want to be more disappointed in the action, but I'm actually more disappointed in my lack of surprise. I don't love myself for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something I'm proud of. I'm just being transparent. You feel me? I think of, no, it's not the entire point of the book, but the Souls of Black Folk, W.E.B. Du Bois, talked about a duality, a double nature that people of our descent or relation, those of, hey, we're going to force you into a race because we took away your nation, right? Or even expats of nations that could be associated with those people whose nations were taken away and put into the category of race, right? There is something there. It talked about that duality of of a persona of wearing a mask, of having to live by two separate set of rules or expectations. How many times have you seen or have you experienced where two colleagues have committed the same infraction, but man, consistently they're expected to jump through a different set of hoops if the other one has to jump through any set of all at all. You know what I'm saying? Where two people make the same mistake. One guy just made a mistake. The other guy, he's a criminal now, but we both have the same documentation.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, that is wild. So, or the other person made a mistake, so they're forgiven. Now you have to jump through hoops to earn trust again. Hold up. Why do I have to earn your trust again? Why are you so special? I got a whole divinity to deal with in terms of earning trust again. Who are you? So, I mean, again, I'm not saying it's not gross. It definitely is. Am I saying that I'm surprised that it happened? No. Especially in a state in or near the Bible Belt. That would be to act like I'm naive to America's history. So my opinion, that's ducked up. In short, street slang, straight up. All that is ducked up. It smells of, hey, you need to be seen and not heard. Take this pow pow.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
It reeks of, hey, probably some gerrymandering and redlining going on over here. Yep. You're this cocky to do something this, like, you know what I mean? Like, it should draw attention and investigation.
Yep. So everything you said, nothing to add in that regard in terms of what this smells like, looks like, walk like a duck, sound like a duck, et cetera, et cetera. You had another point?
I want to correct something because I actually despise the word should. It
Okay.
warrants investigation and
Okay,
attention.
okay.
Remove the
all right,
word
teach.
should.
All right,
I
you taught us
despise the
something
word
today.
should.
Remove the word should.
I
So,
don't like it.
you know, what's interesting is it has sparked an investigation, not just into the decision, but into the people. So there is one of the representatives who is Republican, all his T's not crossed, I's not dotted per the letters of the law. And so now he is exposed into some misbehaviors legally that he has participated in terms of where he lives and where his district is and expenses that have been reimbursed, all this stuff, right? So it is warranting further investigation. And I think my perspective on the bigger picture is, something is unfolding in our country where the racism, bigotry, supremacy is revealing itself, but the counter, the anti-racism, the alternatives to their perspectives are also being brought out. I can't tell you if it's 50-50, 60-40 in what direction, but you're not going to get away with it in the way that you may have in the past. You got away with redlining, but now you're trying to get away with suspending and not even suspending, expelling people who were voted in, and at the risk of leaving a whole demographic of folks unrepresented. You're not going to get away with that. And you've exposed yourself to further misdeeds. That's one kind of broader perspective. Second perspective is Justin Jones and Justin Pearson are movements in and of themselves. These brothers are intelligent. These brothers are, I'm always hesitant to say articulate because it's not that it's unexpected, but the way in which they're orators. They're not just talking. They're not just putting together words. They have an energy. They have an inspiration. And I believe it's Justin Pearson has a nice little back in the day afro. So when I sat back and heard him speak to what was going on, I was like, this is the civil rights. This is Malcolm X-ish type dynamics energy coming from this young man. And what I do know is the lack of intellect that is behind the bigots, the lack of ability to cover the bases that are behind the bigots, the inability to articulate messages well. The bigots are going to lose in a toe-to-toe debate with somebody as inspirational as Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. So they may have, this is the optimist in me speaking, but they may have awakened an energy, a mood, a frequency, a vibration, a movement that they are nowhere near prepared to handle. But the one thing we know is as long as we're alive and all our body functions, our 10 toes on the ground, everything that you talk about, we gonna see. We are definitely gonna see how this thing plays out, because to expel them, I know they didn't anticipate that in a few days, they'll be right back in those same seats.
I'm thankful for it because before this event, I was unaware of brothers Jones and Pearson, but going forward, I will be following them with a little bit more due diligence.
Yeah, it'll be worth it.
Especially, you know, the respect that I have for you and the recommendation that you just gave on them in terms of how you were impressed by them. That gives me more of a green light to expend energy in that direction.
Yeah, no,
right?
it'll be worth it, I think. I don't know their Twitters and Instagrams. I don't know where they at in the stratosphere, but staying attached to their movements, I think.
I got my own ways of making all that work out. Like, but I will also say that the anti-racist, I might be between 2 to 6 years too early to say, but I'm willing to say it now. The anti-racist is the new silent majority. But the problem is they're still silent.
Today, you think it's so you're saying that the anti-racists will be the silent majority, or they are the silent majority now?
They already are. They'll be recognized as such over the next 2 to 6 years, but waking them up. And it does align with the anti-woke movement.
Okay.
Because waking them up is the key.
Yeah.
Waking them up, not to the realization, but stimulating them against, they've been desensitized. There's a sense of apathy. There's a whole lot of ducking. You know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
Like,
I hear that.
It's not even worth the fight. Just carve out the best life you can and keep it pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think I hear you. And I don't know if we can get away with that for too much longer, because it's too much. You know, if the silence opens the doors for misbehaviors. And I think what we see unfolding with the gun violence, we know it's the NRA, right? It's, you know, if you know, you know. And so how long will we, they, us, et cetera, allow this entity to have a chokehold on the country? Because it don't have to be that way, but it is. All right.
Well, so here's the thing. There's NRA. There's pharmaceuticals. Undeniable, especially over the last 3 years. There's the tech industry. Gold oil diamonds. Gold oil diamonds.
Yeah, where do you start? Yeah.
All right. And I am missing interest groups. All top. The military industrial complex. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interest groups off top. 4 of which are rooted in America's roots. At least 3.
Yeah.
You could say pharma is more recent and tech is more recent. But you got gold, oil, diamonds, and those precious resources out there and their interests. And interests that are attached to them, because most of them own subsidiary companies in other industries, including banking. Let me put that on there. We're up to 6.
What about
the banking industry influences government? Gold, oil, diamonds, resources influences government. NRA influences government. Big Farm influences government. Tech, the new big boy on the block, influences government. And there was something else, but hey,
what about, is automotives on their list? Because they got that big bailout some years back.
But I feel like they're subsidiary of oil. They're married to the oil industry.
Touche. Yeah, no.
But I might be oversimplifying, respectfully.
All right. No, I mean, we learn.
And there's others that I'm not even thinking of. I'm just some dummy in Florida. You know, nobody cares about a Florida man anyway, right? Yeah,
Well, the Florida man always in the news, so we don't have to go far
love
to
them.
find him. Just gotta wait a day or two, something to come up. All right. Well, you talked about tech being the big boy on the block, so let's talk about TikTok. So stats and facts. On the internet they call it the TikTok ban, but officially it's the Restrict Act. And it's a bill that doesn't explicitly set out to ban TikTok or any app, but what it does is it allows the Commerce Department power to identify and mitigate risks from technology linked to quote unquote foreign adversaries, which also includes the ability to ban that technology. Today, those adversaries, if we were to list them out, include China, North Korea, Iran, Russia, Cuba, and Venezuela. And so where TikTok comes into play is it's a China-sponsored company. They actually had its founder, CEO, creator on Capitol Hill last week or the week before asking him questions, which also appeared to be some governmental shenanigans. A lot of the people interviewing him didn't even know what they were talking about. Internet, is that www dot stuff? So the issue being that the term adversary, foreign adversary, could be applied to anyone at any time, which in turn could be applied to any tech at any turn. The bill was introduced March 7th, and right now they show about a 5% chance of it being enacted according to Scopus Labs. So a lot of talk about it, but the possibility of this particular bill going through seems low. But your thoughts on banning TikTok and our government being able to decide who a foreign adversary is in order to ban technology?
My thoughts, immediately I'm reminded of the urgency for listeners to realize how oversimplified these things are when they are presented to you, and they're often more than 50% of the time oversimplified in a way that is designed to sway you.
Yeah.
Especially by making it sound like it's one company, the fall guy, but that is the Trojan horse for other things. I don't like the way, and I ain't even read the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I ain't even gonna front on it. I don't know when I'm gonna get to it. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm that guy. But the little that I've gotten and the little follow through that I've like, I don't like the way it's written because they're Trojan horsing with vague language like that. Look at American history. Earmarks, loopholes, and semantics have destroyed nations and fostered colonization, indoctrination, all whatever you want to say. It helps it. It also does help. So here's why I have a problem with it. Now it's a backdoor into censorship. The way it kind of seems like, with language like you pointed out in other parts of the structure. So from that standpoint, I have an issue with it. You know what? You got an issue with TikTok, target TikTok, be TikTok specific, keep it pushing.
Yep. Sound recommendation.
I don't like the, like I said, earmarks, loopholes, you know what I'm saying? And semantics. It's Manhattan like to me. I don't like it.
Yep. I think, am I a fan of TikTok? No. I think there's some sketchiness going on in TikTok based on what I understand as a non-frequent user. But to your point, if the issue is TikTok, speak to TikTok, ban TikTok, move on from TikTok. But American history is such that let's leave room just in case somebody introduce something that we decide we don't like, that we decide we don't want our citizens to participate in for any list of reasons. We'll label it for protection. We'll label it as foreign adversaries. But I think everything you said, it puts us at risk. And when I originally read it and saw it and got the intent, I was very nervous. But right or wrong, find a little hope in today that it hasn't moved since March 7th, and it only has a 5% of chance of being enacted. Issue being that we know how to copycat. So this one may not pass for whatever list of reasons, but they could very well find another way to get something the same enacted. So, stay vigilant, people, stay alert, because when it's out, when it's gone, it's gone. Or when they listening, they listening. And I don't think any of us want that.
Controlling the flow of information facilitates a lot of things, good and bad. These include, but do not limit, genocide, whitewashing, revisionist history, and curating news.
All right. So curating news, the inventor or the creator of fake news is facing 34 counts of falsifying business records. My understanding, all related to Stormy Daniels' hush money. He said he didn't shake nothing with Stormy Daniels. She says otherwise. We've had that discussion since before he became president. But the falsifying of the records may have caught up with him. And this is just one of a handful of potential cases that Trump has going on. So who knows what we'll learn about what else more we'll learn about Donald Trump's behaviors. But specifically here, New York, falsifying business records. Grand scheme of things, maximum sentence, he would face 4 years. There is no rule regulation on the minimum. So, and due to Trump's age and criminal history, quote unquote criminal history, he served little, if any, time. So, what's the big deal? My question to you.
I love this. I absolutely love watching this play out. This appeals to the kid that sat at the top of the set and people watched. This appeals to the kid in high school with his back to the fence, with his cookie in one hand and whatever drink in the other hand, with his backpack on and headphones on, watching. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rod Kim. I'm a watcher. This tickles me on so many different levels, right? His relationship with his base is hilarious to me. It reminds me of a hoop player that told you how he's going to serve you up and does exactly what he told you he was going to do, and then talks about it to you afterwards. I don't know if he's at the afterwards stage, but this dude is quoted as saying, hey, because at the time he was not clearly a Republican. This is the same dude that said that, hey, if I ever wanted to make a run for the biggest office in the land, I'll switch. I'll do it under a Republican ticket because, and he cited their intelligence. Holy smack. And then he did it. Years later, after saying that, calling his shot Babe Ruth-like, political Babe Ruth movements over here, this dude switches, runs for the biggest office in the land, gets, all right, cool. That is just absolutely, positively wild to me. he has 3 cases. This is the first of them, and maybe I'm missing some. Ain't that something to say about a U.S. president? This is one of at least 3 cases pending. And I love to see it because I'm fascinated by who gets buyer's remorse at this point in, based on stereotypes around parties and virtues and beliefs and whatever the systems of morals are supposed to be. But I'm always fascinated at who is principle over politics, principle over party, right? Instead of party over principle. So this whole show for me is just, I don't really like popcorn like that, but I might go get a can of Pringles. I'm willing to snack. You know what I'm saying? I might get the little. I might cut some potato mad thin with some sea salt and olive oil and make some chips myself. Like I'm entertained.
Well, your boy, I love popcorn.
It makes me hungrier. I don't like that. Just you gotta send my hunger the other way, bro. Not make me hungrier. But sorry, that's all.
I don't know. I wasn't entertained. I guess it was last week. I'm curious to see how it all plays out. But Lindsey Graham said that indicting Trump basically gives him the Republican nomination for, any number of perspectives he might be applying there. I don't need nothing for show. I would prefer it be substance. So I think, I'm in the wait and see how this all plays out. Because as much as there's a level of respect that I offer Donald Trump for all that he has done, right? Don't necessarily like it. I don't want to be him. I did want to go on The Apprentice season 3, I think it was. I was this close to trying out for, but I don't want him to be our president. That's where my feelings sit. Live his life, do his due, whether he's with Melania or Stormy Daniels, or however he plays it. I don't care nothing about that. I just don't want him to be our president anymore. So, I'm in wait and see mode. So I haven't pulled the popcorn out for this one. I'm in wait and see mode.
What I find interesting is that there is zero character witness. There is not one person, not a single one, that is like, hey, he's not the kind of guy to do that. No matter who in history, no matter how, especially in recent history, there's at least one person that says, hey, I don't know him to be that way. Not one person, not a single solitary one. Even of his fan base, they just avoid it. And I'm not knocking, look, I'm not taking shots at him. I'm just making these observations. They're funny to me. Look, I'm not a member of either gang. I just think this is hilarious. I really do.
Yeah. All right. I'm surprised at you with the popcorn, but I get it. To each his own. No judgment. That was just unexpected.
Nah, man, I'll quicker sneak some oxtail into the theater before I buy popcorn. I keep it a buck with you. I'd rather some food. I don't like their food, and especially popcorn. It makes me hungrier and thirsty, but it makes me hungrier. I eat popcorn, and then I find that I get violently hungry. I don't understand why.
Well, maybe that's
Tank.
the science. Maybe that's the science behind
Yeah, I
it.
don't love that. No, you got to be doing things the other way for me. Like I have literally snuck jerk chicken with yam, green banana, and gravy and steamed cabbage into a movie theater and enjoyed myself thoroughly.
I'm sure you did. How could you not? Hopefully, what even was the movie, right? Nah, that sounds like the way to do it. That sounds like a way to do it. I ain't sneaking all that in. I just give me the popcorn and a nice drink, and I'll be good to go.
Yeah, I admit the jerk chicken was hard to do, but I've done that. And it was hot. It was hot. It was freshly purchased. All that. Like I admit, it wasn't easy, but we got that thing in there. It's yo, I'm not saying I had a co-defendant, but I'm saying it's easier with a co-defendant.
I hear you. I hear you. Statute of limitations. I don't know what they are, so stay blessed.
Nah, man.
All
Shout
right.
out to my co-D.
So we got one more headline topic. Clarence Thomas. Now, of all of them that we talked about, this one is probably not even probably. This one is the most concerning for me because of who Clarence Thomas is, what he represents as a Supreme Court justice. There's generally no oversight for what they do, what they don't do. And as we've seen with abortion and a few other things in the last couple of years, they have huge impact, huge influence on what happens in our country. So the story there is Clarence Thomas failed to disclose years of luxury trips funded by a Republican mega donor. The rule is that they are required to disclose all gifts valued at more than $415, in particular where transportation is being provided. And so included in this secret luxury over the course of 20 years are private jet flights, trips hanging out on a 162-foot yacht, and full unadulterated access to private resort. This mega donor's name is Harlan Crow, and he said, "The hospitality we have extended to the Thomases over the years is no different from the hospitality we have extended to all our many other, pardon me, let me reread that. The hospitality we have extended to the Thomases over the years is no different from the hospitality we have extended to our many other dear friends. And he is, Harlan Crow, unaware of any of our friends ever lobbying or seeking to influence Justice Thomas on any case." I said it wrong earlier. It's if you let them shenan, if you let them shenan, they will shenan again. And come on. Unaware of any of our friends ever lobbying or seeking to influence Justice Thomas on any case.
You mean what you're supposed to say on record?
For our listeners, I'm making that miss me with that face. Come on. 20 years of secret trips. They ain't talking about no cases. Thoughts?
No, man, like we know how influence works. Like we've had friends that have pursued post-baccalaureate advanced work, and their work was influenced by who was paying for the research. They were paid to find a result, not to find a specific result. Think about that. Or like they found a totally different result, but like 2 to 3 lines supported something else, and there you go. I mean, money influences everything. We are not a perfect democracy. We cannot deny that capitalism is not just a monetary economic system, but it's part of our governmental system. If we deny that, then our Uncle Sam is in denial. Period. As a as a young nation, Sam is in problems if he doesn't recognize that. But yeah, that's a part of our fiber. Look, money exerts influence. I even see it with freaking neighbors. Like I've seen it in peer groups. One person tolerates the other because it gets them access to tickets, swing clubs, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't even like that person, but you laud them with attention, gifts. Like, nobody buys that. But that statement is what you're supposed to say on record.
Oh,
That's
for
what
sure.
you want to have on record. That's great, CYA. Good for you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah. I don't have nothing to add, man. I just think of everything that we're talking about tonight. That is the one that concerns me the most, because it's not just Clarence Thomas. You know, if there's one, there's others, and it's not just Harlan Crow, because it's only so he got one yacht, he got one resort. I'm sure there's other places Clarence Thomas has visited, has gone. So who else is friends with Clarence Thomas? Who else is friendly with the justices of our Supreme Court? And what if they don't talk about any of their cases, what do they actually talk about? So
and there's been too much with that particular body of the accountability trio, right? It's just, I do agree that it's disturbing from that point of view, especially when I have to factor in Ginny, his wife, and her antics and the influence that it could have on opinions. And you can't tell me, I mean, we witness it too much. If I donated X amount to your war chest to get into office, maintain lifestyle, whatever, man, you're beholden to me.
all right. On that, we'll take a break and be right back. This is Unsolicited Genius. What in the sports, Brother Craig? What in the sports? So we talked a little bit about Lamar Jackson's predicament with the Ravens, but now my former Giant, might be my son's favorite player. He still got, the catch on the wall, is joining the Baltimore Ravens. If you're Lamar Jackson, do you stay or do you keep trying to go?
I could only imagine that if I have a relationship with OBJ, then it could factor in. If I don't have an authentic relationship with him, then I don't see it factoring in.
Okay.
I am not up to date enough on who rocks with who, you know what I mean, to know if they're close or friends or whatever, like, or in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But I could imagine having a relationship might influence me. Hey, he's there for a year. I'll eat this tag for a year, and then whatever. because everything else is looking crazy. You might not want to eat the tag, but you might eat the tag.
Yeah. I mean, it does make the option to stay a little bit sweeter. I don't know. I haven't read enough to know if, how do I say, if that is the Ravens' intention. Like, if
I don't think
they
it is.
know they're not going to pay them, they can't give Lamar the money he wants, let us get him a weapon that he wants. But if I'm Lamar Jackson and I have not had, the Ravens have not had a Pro Bowl wide receiver since they left Cleveland. So if I'm Lamar Jackson, the opportunity to play with a star, he's a celebrity in the sport. And the last we saw him play when he was healthy, he was on his way to becoming a Super Bowl MVP. He was balling out, right? So if we work under the assumption that there's still more fuel in Beckham's tank, if I'm Lamar, I'm very excited to play with him. On the other hand, I also, if I'm Lamar, think I'm worth this money that I want. So, for me, this is one where I'm, just going to wait and see how it plays out. Because principles being what they can be, I'm thinking Lamar should sit the season out until he get the money that he want, or they let him go. But to your point, a year to play around with a hopefully healthy OBJ, that sounds like fun. But to your other point, I don't know what their true relationship is. As all this unfolded, there have been tweets and pictures, and they tweeted their FaceTime or something. But they could be, they could just be playing pretend. I don't know. But I think I'm gonna be curious to see how the saga plays out. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. I want him to succeed, as long as it's not against the Giants. Maybe he gets a Super Bowl. Has a Hall of Fame career, but he deserves more from the Ravens, and for me, that included who they were lining up at wide receiver. Because not that they gave him trash, they drafted a few that they hoped would be.
Right.
They had a couple. They tried a couple times, but to be what I'm worth, to do what I do in this game, and anybody and face all the criticism, they got to do better in terms of what they give me to work with. So, I guess it's it's information, but it's still wait and see.
I don't think that I believe that they're one of the organizations that might surprise people and get a quarterback. I think his initials DTR, something like that, out of California, UCLA, I think. Solid from what I could gather. Huntley out of Tennessee. I believe more than a top 4 than what's being talked about in this draft. There's more than a top 4 in terms of quarterbacks. And based on what they already have, they could get the quarterback of the future / now right there in his face, and can really keep it business and keep it pushing. Or make trades to get rhythm and get the quarterback. I feel like we might see some amazing stuff, but I don't see them. I don't see that organization giving him what the public thinks he wants in terms of guaranteed money. I think they'll rather just flip him into a better situation to maybe even they might even just compliment OBJ. I don't know if they know, but again, I don't know if there's a relationship, and if there is one that the team knows about, that would have even encouraged bringing in OBJ otherwise.
Yeah, in the draft, they got Bryce Young, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Go Gators, Tanner McKee, Hendon Hooker, Dorian Thompson, Jake Henner, Clayton Tune, number 10, Stetson Bennett. He just won.
They were mentioned together.
So
Hendon Hooker and the guy right behind him. You mentioned them together.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
And there's a couple others that you mentioned that I think are gonna be, but I do feel like you know we're gonna be really impressed by a quarterback taking late first, early second that wasn't in the top four that everybody was blabbing about.
No, they got some players. They got some players.
Yeah.
I mean, if
That year.
I haven't heard that they would call this a quarterback's draft, but as a fan, I think if you're one of 5 to 6 teams that need a quarterback, that you may get you somebody in this draft. And that's me not high on Anthony Richardson, but offering the subject matter experts the space in which they suggest he might be, top 2 or at least in that top 4. So we'll see.
The draft night will probably be more interesting than people realize.
I'll be there, one way or the other. I side note, I think I've said this here before. I hate that they moved it to Thursday because Saturday, when it was all Saturday, at least the first round was on Saturday, we had space for barbecues, people come through, you kind of dedicate a whole day, you get your magazines out, you get your draft log, your draft sheets, make it an event. Thursday, you got to hurry up, get home from work. You probably a little sleepy. Ain't nobody coming through. And it's at night. You can start a barbecue when the sun down. So I still watch.
Abolished.
It is what it is. But if they put it to a fan vote, let's move that thing back to Saturday.
I hear that.
All right, man. Be gentle with your words. Be kind. The Heat are in the play-in tournament. Now, I myself, I don't know that I'm a fan of the play-in tournament. I damn sure don't want my team in the play-in tournament. I want them in the playoffs. I want to just wake up knowing that at least we got the first round. That being said, not about the Heat, but I'm curious as the basketballer that you are. I know where you are on watching, but just gain your perspective on the NBA play-in tournament in general. If you got comments about the teams this year, so be it. But what's your perspective on the play-in tournament?
It's created. I didn't have the foresight to see some of the things that are the byproduct of this play-in tournament.
Okay.
When it was first presented and voted on. All right. So, one, it has provided, at least in this small of a sample space, better endings to the NBA season. A couple more games have a little bit more meaning. The dog days aren't as dogged. If before you would mark the NBA middle class starting at 17, meaning, you had 8 and 8 that made the playoffs, right? Then it's made it, you've incentivized the top of that NBA quote unquote middle class, the teams that almost made the playoffs. That said, you've also created a situation where a team like Dallas right now has, for all intents and purposes, provided blatant evidence of tanking the last 2 games. And not that tanking is new in the NBA, but this was blatant.
Right.
You couldn't even fake an injury to the stars. Like, damn. Right? So it has so far, whether from novelty or parity, attracted some attention from me in the former dog days of the NBA season.
Yeah. You know, I respect it in that regard for sure, because so it's 10 teams, right? 6 are in, so that's 12 are in, and then 4. Yep. So 20 in total are competing for the playoffs. And
60+% of the league.
exactly, which wasn't the case, right? So it's done that. It's just, if I'm the 7th seed, I have a hard time going home and not being in the playoffs after, 2 end of the season losses. Now it all, all's fair in love and basketball. But that's what makes it weird for me. And I felt that way before the Heat were the 7th seed. But 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, it does make the end of the season more than a smidgen, because it's, in the sample size that we have, it does make the end of the season a bit more exciting. So
now for the record, I have a team in both of my teams are in the same circumstance. The Lakers in the West, the Heat in the East.
Yep, 7 and 7.
Yes. So one's easier to follow than the other. One 8:00 game there will have me up late over here, but that's a whole nother conversation. That goes back to childhood. I've always been distracted this time of year, on and off, because of my on and off following of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in terms of following it, it does make it more. It does add a little bit of interest. And now I can see LA making it out of the first round easier right now than I could see Miami making out of the first.
Yep. I can co-sign that.
In addition to that, I'm not sure if. See, it's not always wise if you're the best team to come in at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you come in and maybe you want to put yourself in a position to face certain matchups later, or come in and get the worst matchup out the way first. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't. So if there's obviously tanking going on for years in the league, you can't tell me that there haven't been times where people tried to doctor their playoff seed for better matchups.
Oh yeah, that'll be forever in the day, because they even talked about I think it's Golden State is that 6th seed was lucrative because that put whoever was in that 6th seed, Lakers, Clippers, Golden State Warriors, it put experienced teams up against an inexperienced Sacramento Kings. So, all right. Well, I'll try to be open to it once the Heat win tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I just, we need to keep this thing going. Shout out to Udonis Haslam, go Gators, go Miami. Officially retiring. We'll see how the playoffs go, but shout out to UD.
Man.
Shout out to UD. All right. Are you entertained, Brother Craig? Are you entertained? What have you been listening to?
I have a student that for quite some time, I guess he's a former student at this point, and he spent his whole time with me trying to convince me that, that I gotta take Tyler, the Creator, seriously. And he was right. And I had to give him his props today. like he happened to pass by. You know, he stops by every once in a while, you know, give me a little shout out. And I stopped him and say, all right, man, I got to give you points. He was right about the Tyler, the Creator. Right now, Dogtooth is my whole attitude, bro. Dogtooth is my whole attitude. Dogtooth is my whole attitude. I love the bounce. I love the swag. I love the whatever. I like the way things are connected. He also did a good job on the opening track / intro to DJ Drama's mixtape album. I don't know, but I found 4 tracks off of that I'm willing to go back to on a regular basis. And maybe another 2 worthy of honorable mention. But Tyler, the Creator, had an intro on there called Legendary. I rock with that too. So, you know, Dogtooth has been in my ear for a couple weeks, and then I heard the Drama intro more recently, and I was like, you know what? I got to get a Youngblood his props. He really called this years ago. So shout out to him. And it's not like I haven't heard Tyler's work before, but you know, when you hear a certain variety in an MC's flow catalog, it's like, okay, how much longer am I going to deny this person credit? You know, they showed me enough variety that they deserve credit at this point, and maybe I've been denied long enough. And partially because I remember him as somebody with internet antics before I remembered him as an MC.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember him as the MC first. So the credibility was harder to give out there for me.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, from your mouth to my ears, you are one of many who have given their props to Tyler. And I tried, I think it was 2018, 19, somewhere in there when he won a Grammy. So I went, whatever album was popping at that time, I went through the whole thing and I was like, I don't get it. But, you know, I
don't go back to all of his albums like that. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I know the boy can flow, and he's got some flows out there I can like.
All right. I would check out Dogtooth.
Call Me When You Get Home. I remember liking some tracks off of that or something like that.
All right. I listened to I didn't go all through DJ Drum. I went to the Rick Ross track and 1 or 2 others, but I tried.
Nah, you got to go to the Jeezy track on there.
I tried. Oh, I didn't do the Jeezy track.
Nah.
Okay. All right.
That Jeezy tracks that bounce.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
From your mouth to my ears. All right. So I've been kind of pulling a page out of Uncle Mo's music book, and just going back to the 90s for me, you know, 90, 95 and earlier. So that included Me Against the World, that included some Bone Thugs and Harmony, Outkast as always, so, you know, they aren't included. But who I hadn't really listened to their album from start to finish in a long, long time was Snoop D-O-double-G. I can't tell you why. You know, I always go back to the Chronic. The Chronic is a mainstay. I don't know if because I hear Snoop everywhere. He has so many albums that I enjoy. I hear songs from Doggy Style all the time that, you know, it doesn't come to mind. But Brother Lindo, homie, that album was potent, hot, fire. From start to finish, which isn't always with any album. But, you know, he had the anthems. When I Met You Last Night. We know that one, right? We know Gin and Juice, right? We know the classics that are deserved of the label classic. But I guess I forget because we get so much of, you know, the Snoop Dogg, the Dog Father today, that I forget how he used to just spit rapid fire on tracks. And what it also reminded me is one of my favorite MCs, for sure in my top 10, is Corrupt. Corrupt
Okay.
from the Dog Pound.
With that. That's hard to argue with, bro. That's
when you
like
think
when
about
somebody tell me Redman is on their list. What I'm supposed to say?
I don't know that I can credit Corrupt with an album. The Dog Pound album was good. I think that's in the list to go to next. Corrupt, as far as I know, had at least a album that, maybe okay, I can't call it. But just to get on the mic and MC.
No, and like I rock with you, but here the reason why you might see my body language weird is because like you're getting into, I feel like he's bordering on backpacker. Like
what you mean?
Backpackers appreciate Corrupt more than the mainstream fan appreciates Corrupt.
Yeah, no,
that's
no doubt.
That's all.
No doubt.
That's all my reaction.
No, because who mentions Corrupt ever, right? Who mentions Corrupt? Yeah, and but from the Chronic, when I didn't even know who he was, to Doggy Style, when I knew a little bit about the crew, to the Dog Pound album when he did New York. Oh man. So yeah, he's definitely. I was reminded at his Spitfire, and even as he got older, even as he matured and Death Row kind of started going separate ways, he got a couple other albums, couple other features. I think he got a song on Cool Breeze's album. He pops up in spots, but wherever he pops up,
dog, these 40 plus, 50 plus MCs out here getting it. Have you heard Method Man recently? Method Man recently, I think he was on a song with, was it T.I.? Like, no, he was on a song with, it was him and Redman. Athletic bars.
Yeah.
Athletic bars.
Yeah.
Method Man, athletic bars, EST, early 1990s. Method, he was already established in your ears in 93. It's 2023. And Method is out here athletic in the bars, bro.
Yeah.
Gymnast with the syllables.
That I'd have to go through the catalog, but there have been some tracks mixed in here, some mixtapes, something I don't know, but Method has shown up in the last couple years, and still has that
from Griselda to whoever, just doing tracks with.
Yeah. Nah, Meth is definitely top 10 MC in my list for sure.
And T.I. got a couple verses out there.
All right, we might have to do some playlist exchange or something so I can make sure I get that, because I've said this, I wasn't always a Wu-Tang fan, especially when they first came out as a group. It didn't move me, but Meth, it moved me. You know what I mean? Like I'm with all Wu-Tang now, much props. Shout out to the Hulu series, Raekwon, Ghostface, or all of them, right? But back then, 1990 something, Method was the one that he definitely hit me heavy.
Dog, if sometimes I used to play music in the warm-ups, the layup lines while you pre-game, whatever. You couldn't tell me I wasn't jumping higher when they played METHOD during warm. What? I was what? Oh no, I never slapped the back, because even if you have the ability to dunk, it is not allowed. You're not allowed to dunk in warm-ups. So like slapping the glass on your layup, one hand, two hand, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I was out there tearing that little foam up. What are you talking about? Double hand slapping the glass on my layups. I needed the team on the other end. I believed I could jump higher when I heard that song in warm-ups. Couldn't tell me nothing. Couldn't tell me jack.
All right. So that's what you've been listening to. What have you been watching?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. For better or for worse, sometimes I just get stuck in front of the television, dog. So I it's off the top of the dome as far as by volume, I have to say Family Guy, because that's my favorite ambient noise.
Okay. Okay.
But as far as series that I might be following, I'm enjoying The Mandalorian. I enjoy some extent of sci-fi. I enjoy period pieces. I enjoy things with the honor code and ambiguity between good guy, bad guy, and perception. And I so for those reasons, I rock with it.
Right. I respect it. I haven't, the last week, right? We on every week. I haven't watched a whole lot. Like you, my ambient sound, I won't even say ambient because I typically pay attention to Bob's Burger. But I'm cheat a little bit because I didn't bring it up in the sports section or what in the sports. But I watched the Masters this weekend.
Okay. How did you
And
like that finish?
it was compelling. I've always will root for Tiger, but I know how the game go. I know what his body ain't. So as long as he makes the cut, that's a win for me and Tiger. Unfortunately, he didn't finish, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. The weather was made this tough. I feel like Thursday was a good day. Friday, Saturday, the weather was all over the place. They canceled Friday, canceled Saturday, made up some on Saturday, made up some on Sunday. So I feel like that did something to the tournament. I don't recall, at least I don't recall me watching a Masters that had the rain throw things off like this. But coming into Sunday, they finished the third round Sunday morning, and then they came back a couple hours later to do the fourth round. So I was glad that they finished it on Sunday, that it didn't carry over to Monday. That being said, one of the guys who I root for is Brooks Koepka. And despite the fact that he went to Florida State, I'm still a fan, right? Brooks Koepka. I'm still a fan. And I thought he had it. I thought it was going to be some controversy with Liv winning the PGA, major tournament. Phil Mickelson, who I don't necessarily chill for, he was up in the mix. So I thought Liv was going to, let them things hang all on the stage of the PGA tournament. But John Rahm out of Spain, listen, when I tell you somebody earned a victory, when I tell you somebody showed you how you win one of these tournaments, Koepka has been hurt. And, this was maybe a reveal of where he was and wasn't physically. So I thought he did a great job tying Phil for second. So props to him based on where he was. And there's a documentary on Netflix. He had to overcome confidence issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Rahm went out there and won it, man. He had a strategy that he stuck to. None of his mistakes did he allow to remain mistakes. He recovered from them all. And he just went out there and handled his business, man. Everybody else had a little flub up. Everybody else had a little moment where, they shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they didn't. So they weren't able to compete down the stretch. But from not quite the start, but when it came to perform going into fourth round, Rahm did the thing, man. So, it wasn't, I would have loved to have seen a playoff between him, Koepka, and Mickelson, maybe. That would have been even more exciting. But I think to get to, this 13th, get to the 15, 16 hole and not be quite sure how it's going to play out in a Masters tournament, that's about what you can ask for. Because it used to be Tiger you know, he would have 20-stroke lead on everybody. So you knew you was just watching the watch sometimes. So when it's that competitive down the stretch, you know, I'll take that. I'll take that.
I can appreciate competitive.
Mhm.
Is there something you caught in that you realize you got to change or adjust in your own game?
Great question. This time I was looking at their legs. You know, balance is important, and
Footwork.
follow through on your swing and where your body is important. So I was looking at their leg movement, you know, what they did with the driver, what they did with the irons, what they did on the chip shot. So definitely some more stuff for me to go work on. I mean, that's going to be forever, right? That's part of my motivation, truth be told, is it gives me something to work on being good at, trying to be good at. But I paid attention to their legs today, this tournament.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
All right. So we wrap it up with, what have you been reading?
I ain't read none.
Not your daily reading either?
No. I ain't gonna lie to you. I can make up about it. I read what? I've written in my journal.
You was doing the revelations for the day, right? Matching the day with the revelations. No?
You're right.
No.
I could sit here and cap about it, but the truth is I fell off.
All right. Well, the good thing about falling off,
I'm perfect.
Good thing about falling off is you can always fall back on. So it's all good.
It's been, you know, if I was to confess, I'd say I've the last 7 days, I've done what I needed to do. And when I mean that in the most minimalistic sense. Get to work, get back home. I'm actually fasting in more than one way. I didn't mean to be fasting from productivity. That just is another byproduct to be discussed later. But it's funny how, you know, when you say, hey, I need to stop this, it seems like, or I need to chill out on this or stay away from that. Those things all of a sudden are abundant and free. It never, ever, at any point in my life ceases to amaze me, except for the first time, how it is true. So, I mean, I don't even know how I got there. My bad. I clearly strayed away on the conversation, but no, I ain't reading Jack Dog. I fell off.
All right. Well, I'm still, so I wrapped up a couple weeks ago, Sapiens. So one of the other books, because I was caught up in reading too many at the same time, is Falling Upward. That's in my book club. And so I'm still reading that. We're not quite done. I think we got maybe 3 more chapters. So I look forward to providing that synopsis. But I facilitate book club tomorrow. So I'll be talking about shadow work and the masks that we wear. What's up?
Did you say falling up or falling upward?
Upward. Falling upward. Mm-hmm.
All right.
And like I said, I'll give the full book report when we finish. But
no doubt.
Suffice to say,
we have another book under the title of Falling Up, so I asked a clarifying question.
Yeah, and so if I hadn't said it before, Falling Upward looks at lives and our lives in 2 halves. There's the youth mindset, and then there's the elders mindset. And so it talks about the struggles that exist in both, the struggles we face when transitioning from one to the other, and the struggles that some face in never transitioning from that first half to that second half at all. So more to come on that. Very insightful, very powerful, very, very, very highly recommended, very powerful book. All right, we'll take a break and be right back to say goodbye, close out the show. This is Unsolicited Genius.
Listening to Unsolicited Genius.
Welcome back to Unsolicited Genius. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for watching the show. With that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on everything, even I think might be on TikTok, despite, right? We're on TikTok. So yeah, wherever we are, like, subscribe, follow, and please leave us some comments. Tell us what you think. DM is fine, but you can talk to us in the public setting too. Have no fear, we don't bite. Shout out to Joe Nitty, super producer, for everything that he does. He makes us look good, makes us sound good, makes sure we're received good. I didn't say that right. Received well by you all. Thank you to our sponsors, Legacy Wear, where your legacy awaits. Find them at www.legacywearus.com. Special thank you to Megacore CBD. Hopefully get them on soon. Broad spectrum hemp derived CBD the way nature intended. You can find them at www.megacorecbd.com. Shout out to Aura Rainwater, hydrate and elevate. Find out more about them at www.aurarainwater.com. Should have them on soon. Also, shout out to Carlton and his coaching, where they say, be your life. Find out more about me, what I do as a professional outside of the podcast realm at www.carltoninniss.com. Any other shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
Yes. I may be mistaken. I could be off the standard deviation one day. However, I believe this is one of those days that they gave a designation to. I believe it's National Siblings Day.
Oh, is it?
So I want to give that shout out as of the date of our taping. I believe it is that.
It is today.
I was the only child for a long time. There's a double-digit difference between my brother and I. I prayed for one. I wanted the sibling. It was life-changing for me. It has been. I have been far from a perfect sibling. I really have to apologize to him, and I sincerely apologize to him for the points which I was disappointing as a big brother. My bad, little bro. I really sincerely didn't intentionally disappoint you. All that said, I am so thankful. I remember when my mother was pregnant with him, and you know how sometimes a woman gets that vertical seam line down the belly. In my naive 11-ish, 12-year-old-ish mind, that seam signified twins were coming. So I used to put hands on belly and pray that on one side was a boy and the other side was a girl. Because I figured if I could get them both in one set, I wouldn't have to nag her to get pregnant again, right? But because I asked for this, right? So, as he welcomes a blessing of his own, baby girl, this is not a drill. Tio Lindo has a niece. Like it's wild out here. You know, don't ever be the reason you have to find out I'm her uncle, is all I have to say on that. And, you know, shout out to my little brother on National Siblings Day.
All right, shout out to baby bro. Shout out to baby bro. All right, so thoughts of genius. We talked about Tennessee, and you know, I as I said, Justin Pearson in particular really stood out to me. And what I take from him is, you know your heart, you know your purpose, you know your why. Coach Carlton may talk, you may engage Coach Carlton if you're struggling with articulating those things. But in our hearts of hearts, we know what we want, what we're doing. And so when you find your purpose, your actions, your environment, all in alignment. What I take from Justin Pearson is let your voice be heard. If for no other reason, in that God speaks to us through other people. And on that, this has been another episode of Unsolicited Genius. Join us next week, same Genius time, same Genius channel. And for whenever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
You are listening to Craig D, Molat. You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.